Hi everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to focus on math. I'm here in another headband because you know what they say, a headband a day keeps coronavirus away. They don't say that, I just made it up. But this is from Perseus, so thanks Perseus. I hope you're watching. I love it. It's perfect for when I don't feel like doing my hair. It makes everything nice. Okay. Anyways, we are starting a new module, which you should have noticed yesterday when you did your first Zern lesson. So you should have one lesson in that introduced you to these concepts. And you haven't heard it from me yet. So today's lesson 1 and 2. Kind of, I'm going to combine them since yesterday you did 1 on Zern and today you would do 2 on Zern. I'm just going to do a mini lesson that includes lessons 1 and 2. All right, so you'll see over here, we'll have our new anchor chart, and on this side, we're gonna have some practice problems. So to start, I'm gonna just twist y'all a little bit this way so that we can go through our notes section. I suggest that you, if you don't have an access to a printer, taking out a piece of paper or using a notebook dedicated to taking notes in math. If you do have access to a printer, I linked our notes in our Google Classroom, so you could go ahead and print those and take notes every day with us as we go. But if not, you can just write it yourself. No big deal. So you should take these notes, though, somewhere to help you whenever you go back, because you can't just watch and remember. Sometimes you actually have to write things down, too. I tell you that all the time, don't I? I say, it's not enough to listen. You have to participate, too. You don't learn by listening, you learn by doing. So please, take out a piece of paper and take these notes, would ya? All right. Obviously, you can pause and go find a piece of paper and a pencil. I'm not going to give you time. You can pause me now. Okay, so up here, we have our learning target. I just smudged that. It says, I can draw and identify points, lines, line segments, and rays. So these are new words to you, mathematically speaking. You've all heard of a line, but yeah, now we're going to define them for real. Okay, so you'll see here, let's see, I want to use this side of my marker. In this section here, we have a big old dot, and it is labeled a point, okay? A point is a dot that represents one specific location. So it's just a dot that represents one specific location. It's like how you would use an X marks the spot in math, a point marks the spot, okay? And then we have a line. So let me go ahead and define a line for us. A line goes on forever in both directions and is always straight. Okay, so there's two things that make a line a line. It has to go on forever in both directions, which you signify with 2 arrows, an arrow at both sides, and it needs to be straight. We don't have lines that are all squigglies because that's not a line. You hear me say that in the hallway all the time too, actually. If you guys are all wobbly, wiggly, you're like, this doesn't look like a line. Literally, it doesn't look like a line. A line is straight and it goes on forever in both directions, okay? Next, we have a line segment. Line segment and a line look very much the same. The only difference is a line segment has a starting point and an ending point. It does not go on forever in both directions. So really, when I say line up, we're actually in a line segment, not a line, because we don't have an infinite amount of students. We have a starting amount of students and an ending amount of students. So when we line up, we get an align segment. So it's a straight line that connects to points. So it starts and ends. Okay? And then we have array. Array is kind of different, I guess, but if I used this analogy at Saturday school one time. I made everyone think about a ray gun. It's like pew pew. So when you're shooting a ray gun or like a Nerf gun or something, it has a point where it starts and then it goes on forever. So a ray has a starting point, but then it goes on. It doesn't end. So array is a straight line with one endpoint and goes on forever in the other direction. So those are the first 4 vocabulary words that you'll need to know from lesson 1. And then over here, let's do some practice. Okay, let me turn this a little bit here so you can see it better, because there's a little bit of a glare, so I'm hoping once I stop it, you'll be able to read it, but if not, let me explain it to you real quick. So we have points, lines, line segments, and rays. I actually want to be able to see both screens. Okay. So first what we're going to do is we're going to take our pink and we're going to identify all the points in this practice problem. So if we come over here, we'll notice that a point is a dot that represents one specific location. So we're going to come over here, we're going to find all the dots that represent one specific location. Real quick, before I start coloring them, I want you to count to yourself, because obviously I can't be there to check, how many points do you see in this problem? How many dots do you see that represent one specific location? Go ahead and count them. If you said 6, you are correct. Now let's check our work. Ready? I'm just gonna trace them in pink. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they are usually represented with a letter. So when you see a point, it's usually associated with a letter of the alphabet as well. Okay, now let's identify our lines. So a line, what does a line do? Go ahead and read that to yourself. A line. Okay, so a line goes on forever in both directions. It never stops, it never ends, and it's straight. So I'm going to come over here. I want you to identify how many lines you see. So a line goes on forever in both directions. So there needs to be an arrow at both sides. How many lines do you see? If you said 2, you are correct. So I'm going to trace them in orange because I have orange over here and this is orange over here. So we have 2 lines. We have a line here. Miss, you didn't do it straight. I know, I'm not perfect. And I have a line here. And when we talk about our lines, what we do is we talk about from which points they go through. So really what I should have done is made the line up here through those. because now we can call this line BD. So when you have a line, you're going to put it above the letters. You're going to put BD with a line above it, just like this. You make it look like a line above. Okay, let's talk about our other line. What points do you see that connect this line? We're going to have line. And what letters should we have underneath there? We have F and we have E. So it's going to be line FE. Make sense? You just use the points that the line goes through or towards the ends, even though it doesn't end. The points that are closest to the arrows. Okay, now we're going to identify line segments. So a line segment is a straight line that connects 2 points. So it has a starting point and an ending point. So after these points, you won't see arrows. The lines will just start and stop, okay? So how many lines do you see over here in the line segments? Line segments. How many line segments do you see in this diagram? So there will be no arrows. I only see one, and it's from here to here. So the line segment, you'll just have a line like this, and under it you'll put the 2 points. So we'll have BC. Line segment BC. Okay? And then lastly, we have rays. So a ray, I'm gonna get my red, is a straight line with one endpoint and goes on forever in the other direction. So over here, what we want to notice is we want to see a line that has a dot at one side and an arrow at the other. How many rays can you identify on this diagram? If you're being observant, you'll notice it's probably the only things that aren't colored yet. And then you'll know that there would be 2. So we have from here down to this arrow, and we have from here down to this arrow. So with a ray, you'll make the dot on one side and the arrow on the other, and you'll still put the letters underneath. So it starts at C and it goes to F. All right, and then over here we have D and it goes out to E. So those are our points, lines, line segments, and rays. There will be more practice problems attached to our Google Classroom document, but that is from the lesson portion. That is lesson 1. So you should be able to identify points, lines, line segments, and rays now with our notes and our practice. We're going to go on and start the next portion of the lesson as well, which is angles. Okay, coming back over here, let's define our new vocabulary. All right. Separate learning target for this lesson, it says, I can draw and identify right, acute, obtuse, and straight angles. So there are 4 different types of angles, and you're going to need to know all of them. On Zern, you'll notice that you'll start using something that looks like this. This is called a protractor. Usually, what we would do is we would take our protractors and we would line them up, and we would measure them to see the size of our angles, but it's going to be really complicated to do that without being there in person. So a lot of the protractor stuff you're gonna have to get from Zern until I find a way to help us do that this way. Okay, so the first angle that we have is called an obtuse angle. What do you think of when I say obtuse? Obtuse. To me, it sounds like obese. And obese means large, bigger. So an obtuse angle is bigger than 90 degrees. 90 degrees is going to be a very common reference point for us. We're going to talk about either bigger than 90, less than 90. Okay, so an obtuse angle is an angle that is greater than 90 degrees. That's it, obtuse, greater than 90. And now we're going to think of acute. It's an acute angle. Usually when people see things that are all little and tiny versions of real big things, they're like, oh, it's cute. So an acute angle is less than 90 degrees. It's cute. It's little. So an angle that is less than 90 degrees. And then if you come over yonder, you'll see a right angle. A right angle is going to be our common reference point. It's the one that we're going to say if things are bigger than or less than. So if it's a right angle, it's not bigger or less. It's our reference point. It is 90 degrees. So a right angle is an angle that is 90 degrees. Has to be 90 degrees on the dot or it's not a right angle. If it's bigger, it's obtuse. If it's smaller, it's acute. And then our last one is called a straight angle. So that would be like taking this right angle and taking the top here and flattening it out until it's a straight line. So a straight angle would be like two 90-degree angles. So if you take 90 and multiply by 2, you'll realize that means it is 180 degrees. So a straight angle is an angle that is 180 degrees. So this would be less than 90 degrees. This one would be greater than 90 degrees. This one is 90 degrees. And this one is 180 degrees. Alrighty, so that's our vocabulary. Let's do some practice. So same thing as before, we're going to identify these new words on this diagram. So if we come over and look at this picture, the first one I have is obtuse angle. I'm going to color it red. So if you see over here, obtuse is red, obtuse is red. We're going to color our obtuse angles red. So thinking about a 90-degree angle looking like this, like a capital L, an obtuse angle would be bigger than that. So it would be like, ugh, that hurts. But bigger than 90. So looking at this diagram, where do you see angles that would be bigger than 90 degrees? I want you to identify ones that look like this. This is right. This is acute. This would be obtuse, anywhere from here over to here, but not like this because that would be straight. So anywhere within this range would be obtuse. Where do you see things like that? Over here. How many? How many do you see? If you said 2, you are correct. Our obtuse angles will be here, that's the messiest line ever, and here. Because they are bigger than 90. And you can check that really easily if you have like a square piece of paper at home. You can line it up on one side, and if you can see the other side, that means it's going to be bigger than 90 degrees. Just like here, if we line it up in this corner, we can see the other side, so it's bigger than 90 degrees. If it was acute, we would not be able to see that other side. So that's where we're at right now. We're on acute angle. So let's see. I'm going to use my right angle checker, which is just the corner of this paper, and I'm going to check. We already said this one as obtuse. I can see both sides here, but they are touching, so I don't think that that one makes sense. This one just goes straight across. Again, I can see both of them here, but it's not bigger or smaller, they're touching. Let's see here, if I line it up on this side. Oh, can I see the other angle? Can I see the other line that makes my angle? No, I can't. So that would have to mean that this is an acute angle. So I'm going to color this line and color this line. And right here would be my acute angle. Next we have right angles. So a right angle is that perfect 90 degrees, just like the corner of a piece of paper. So I'm going to use this to check my angles and see where I can find some 90s. So a 90, you'll notice, will touch along the bottom and along the edge on both sides. So here's a 90-degree angle. And when you have a 90-degree angle, what you mark it with is a little box to show that it was equal to 90 degrees. So this one will be a 90-degree angle here. And then I see one more 90-degree angle, which is already marked with a box here. There we go. So there's 3 of them, 3 90-degree angles. And our last one is a straight angle. So our straight angle is 180 degrees and it's marked with a little half circle. So if you look over here, do you see any straight angles that go on in both directions, never bending or curving? Yeah, it's right here. We have one, wow, that was a really messy line. One straight angle right here. Okay, so that is all for the lesson portion. We just needed to introduce our vocabulary, define our words and what they look like, and identify some over here. And now I'm going to attach some materials in a Google Classroom where you can practice these skills.